The sun had barely risen over the quiet suburb of Ikoyi when Mama F took her usual seat on the broken stone bench beside the towering black gates of the Okonkwo mansion. Her wrapper was faded, her slippers worn thin, and her eyes held stories that time had tried, and failed, to erase. Every morning for the past 3 years, she had come to that same spot, rain or shine, waiting patiently, silently, for a man she believed owed her something far greater than money. The mansion stood like a monument to excess. Marble columns, glass walls, a fleet of imported cars that sparkled under the Lagos sun. It belonged to Chuka Okonkwo, business tycoon, philanthropist, and media darling. To the public, he was a self-made man. But to Mama F, he was the boy she once called son. No one knew why the old woman waited outside. Some assumed she was a beggar hoping to touch the edge of wealth. Others, especially the security guards, found her presence irritating. They mocked her sometimes, calling her the millionaire's shadow. But she never replied. She would simply smile, clutch a tattered envelope in her hands, and whisper softly to herself, "He'll remember." Back in the neighborhood, rumors ran wild. Some said she was mad. Others swore she had once saved the young Chuka from a fire as a maid decades ago. But the truth was buried in memories only she carried, and in the letter inside that envelope, the one she never opened, only held like it might shatter if she let it go. 3 years of waiting had turned her into part of the scenery. Passers-by barely noticed her anymore. But still, she came. And every evening, just as the last light faded, she would rise with a groan, dust off her skirt, and whisper again, "Tomorrow, he will see me." It was on a Tuesday afternoon, ordinary by every measure, that something shifted. The mansion's gate, which had always remained firmly shut, buzzed open. A black Range Rover rolled out. But this time, it didn't speed off. It slowed. The window rolled down. Inside was a young woman with sharp eyes and a soft voice. "Mama, why do you sit here every day?" Mama F looked up, lips trembling. She had never spoken to anyone from the mansion directly. Her voice cracked. "I am waiting for Chuka, he is my child." The girl's brow furrowed. "Your child? Mr. Chuka?" Mama F nodded. "I raised him. He doesn't know I'm still alive, or maybe he's forgotten." There was silence. A silence so thick it blanketed the air. Then the girl said something that made Mama F's heart still. "Wait here. I'll be back." That day, for the first time in 3 years, Mama F's hand stopped trembling. The envelope slipped to her lap. And for the first time, she looked at it not with longing, but with fear. Something was coming. But she didn't know whether it was the closure she'd prayed for, or a truth she wasn't ready to hear. The girl didn't return that day. Mama F waited till the shadows grew long and the street lights flickered to life. Her fingers clutched the envelope again, tight, as if drawing warmth from it. She had lost feeling in her legs from sitting too long, but her mind was racing now. Who was that girl? How did she know Chuka? Would she really come back? The following morning, she was there before dawn, dressed in her cleanest wrapper, hair tied neatly, and the envelope carefully pressed under her arm like a sacred text. The security guards eyed her warily. Something about her seemed different. She wasn't just waiting now, she was expecting. But hours passed. No Range Rover. No girl. By the 3rd day, Mama F's hope had started to crack. Not fully broken, but the edges had begun to splinter. Then, just as she was gathering herself to leave, the mansion's intercom crackled. One of the guards approached, holding a phone. "Mama, someone want talk to you." Confused, she took the phone. A soft voice came through, clear and slow. "Mama, it's me, Ada. The girl you spoke to the other day. I spoke to Mr. Chuka. He doesn't remember you. Mama F's heart dropped. I told him what you said. That you raised him. That maybe you were his old nanny. He said he doesn't recall. He said, if you're lying, it's best you stop coming. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She smiled, voice steady. I am not lying, my child. I was more than a nanny. I was a mother when his mother died. There was a pause. Then Ada whispered, there's something else. He gave me permission to let you come in, just once. If you want to. The gate buzzed. For the first time in 3 years, Mama F walked through. She moved slowly, taking in every flower, every tile. The mansion had changed so much, but it still smelled faintly of the hibiscus she used to plant with Chuka when he was a boy. Inside, she was led to a side room. It was quiet. Too quiet. On a polished table sat an old family photo, Chuka, maybe 5 years old, smiling beside a woman who was not his real mother. The woman who married his father after Mama F was dismissed. Ada came in, gently holding a glass of water. He's busy. He said he doesn't have time to meet. Mama F said nothing. She just looked at the photo. Her eyes settled on the boy's face. I wrote him this letter 3 years ago, she finally whispered. But I never gave it to him. I was afraid. Ada reached out. Would you like me to give it to him? Mama F hesitated, then nodded. Her hands trembled as she passed over the envelope, the one she'd carried through 3 years of sun and rain, hunger and heartbreak. As Ada left, Mama F sat alone, hands folded, eyes closed. The room was warm, but she felt cold. So very cold. Days passed. Mama F did not return to the mansion gates. The neighbors noticed. The security guards wondered, whispered. Even Ada felt the silence like a strange emptiness. She hadn't expected the letter to carry so much weight, nor did she expect what it would stir. When Ada gave Chuka the envelope, he had scoffed. This old woman again. We don't even know if what she says is true. Still, he opened it. The handwriting was shaky, written in a mix of Yoruba and English, the way old women wrote when emotions tangled with memory. The letter wasn't long, but it was raw. My dear Chuka. You were only 2 when your mother passed. Your father didn't know how to raise a child. I stepped in. I carried you on my back, fed you from my own hand. I taught you how to pray, to speak, to love. I called you my son because you were more mine than anything else I ever had. They pushed me away when you grew older, said I was too close, too attached. I never blamed you. You were only a child. But I waited. Hoping that one day, you'd remember the woman who called you Obim when you cried at night. I'm not here for money. I'm here because I want to die known, not forgotten. Mama F. Chuka sat still, the paper trembling in his hand. His chest felt tight, but his pride refused to crack. Anyone can write such a letter, he muttered. But that night, he dreamed of a woman with calloused hands singing lullabies in a small, smoky kitchen. Her face was blurry, but the scent of shea butter and old palm oil felt hauntingly real. He woke with a jolt. The next morning, Chuka told Ada, find her. It wasn't easy. Mama F didn't have a fixed address. She moved between church members' homes, sometimes sleeping in the corridor of a bakery whose owner pitied her. When they finally located her, she was at a local clinic, frail and coughing, wrapped in a borrowed shawl. Chuka didn't come himself. He sent his driver and a nurse. But when she arrived at the mansion again, this time not as a beggar, but in a car, there was no joy in her eyes. Only weariness. Ada welcomed her inside with tears in her eyes. Mama, he wants to see you. They led her into a private lounge. Chuka stood by the window, hands in his pockets. He turned, eyes scanning her face like it was a painting from a lost childhood. Mama F. She nodded, slowly. You remember? He shook his head, shame crawling across his face. I don't. But I read your letter. And I believe you. Silence. Then Mama F reached into her wrapper and pulled out a tiny wooden spoon, worn, cracked. You used to cry unless I fed you with this. Chuka's hand shook as he took it. I didn't come for anything, Chuka, she said softly. Just to know that I meant something. His voice broke. You did. But even as he held her hand, something in her eyes said she was already drifting away. The weeks that followed were quiet. For the first time since his rise to fame, Chuka Okonkwo took a step back from board meetings and media interviews. He spent his mornings sitting beside Mama F in the garden, under the guava tree that Ada said reminded her of home. They didn't talk much. Sometimes she dozed off mid-conversation. Other times, she would hum lullabies from the village, a sound that stirred something deep in Chuka's chest, like an old drum finally beating again. He began to ask questions. About his childhood. About his mother. About things no one had ever told him. And slowly, the memories returned, not in full, but in pieces. The warm hands braiding his hair. The voice that soothed his night terrors. The smell of jollof cooked over firewood. The love that wasn't biological, but was far more real. One evening, as they watched the sun bleed into the sky, Mama F whispered, Chuka. I'm ready. He turned to her, panicked. Ready for what? To go. He shook his head. Don't say that. You just got back into my life. We still have time. She smiled. You have time, my son. But mine is borrowed. I held on for 3 years outside that gate, not because I was waiting for a mansion, but because I needed to die remembered. You gave me that. Tears filled his eyes. He knelt beside her, holding her hand tightly. Then stay. Stay and live here, with me. You are family. She touched his cheek. I already stayed longer than the pain. That's enough. That night, Mama F passed in her sleep, wrapped in a warm blanket, surrounded by peace. No longer alone. No longer invisible. Her funeral was small, but dignified. Chuka insisted on burying her beside the flower garden in his estate, near the tree where she liked to sit. Ada read the letter aloud. Staff wept. Chuka wept. And when the press got wind of it, the headlines were curious. Billionaire buries old woman who waited outside his gate for 3 years. Turns out she raised him. But the real story was never about wealth. It was about memory. About the invisible woman who raised children not born from their wombs, but from their hearts, and are forgotten once success erases poverty's scent. In the months that followed, Chuka started a foundation, Mama F Homes, for aging nannies, maids, and caretakers discarded by the families they once held together. It grew fast. Spread across states. Became a movement. One evening, years later, Chuka stood in the same garden with his young daughter. Daddy, she asked, who is that woman in the statue? He smiled, eyes misty. That's the reason I remember where I came from. And with that, he told her the story of the woman who waited outside his gate, holding love in an envelope, hoping not to be rich, but simply not to be forgotten. That's why wealth can build gates, but love builds homes. Never forget the hands that held you before the world knew your name.